Today, thank you so much for joining us again here at Reading 100 Classics. The book we're going to dive into today is the incredible The Art of Loving by Erich Fromm. Now, this isn't your typical self-help book filled with easy tips for romance. No, this is something much, much deeper. It's a profound look into the very essence of human connection. And honestly, its ideas are just as revolutionary today as they were when it was first written.
And just think about that for a second. This book was published all the way back in 1956. For over 70 years, it's been translated into more than 34 languages, guiding millions of people around the world. So what is it about this book that gives it so much staying power? Well, it's because it tackles one of the most fundamental, and let's face it, one of the most painful questions that we all struggle with in our lives.
I mean, we all want it, right? It's the one thing we all yearn for. It's in every movie we watch, every song we listen to, and yet for so many of us, the actual experience of love can be filled with confusion, disappointment, and just plain heartbreak. We tend to treat love like it's a lottery, some magical feeling that we just stumble into if we're lucky. But the brilliant psychoanalyst Erich Fromm comes along and offers a completely different and maybe even startling perspective. He argued that we'd been asking the wrong questions all along.
Okay, let's really get into this first big idea, because honestly, if you can grasp this, it changes absolutely everything. Erich Fromm's central argument is a direct challenge to pretty much every modern myth we have about romance and connection.
It's such a simple sentence, but it's completely revolutionary. What Erich Fromm is saying here is that most of us think the problem of love is about being loved. We spend all our energy trying to find the right person. We focus on making ourselves more attractive, more successful, more interesting, all in the hopes of winning someone else's affection. But he says this is a total misdiagnosis of the problem. The real issue isn't about being loved, it's about our own capacity to love.
This chart really lays out the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got what our culture sells us, falling in love. It's passive, it's something that happens to you. It's all about finding the right object for your affection, and it's treated like a matter of chance, this bolt of lightning, this temporary excitement. But on the right, that's Erich Fromm's radical idea, practicing love. This is an active skill. It's something you develop within yourself, like a muscle. You wouldn't expect to become a master painter or a skilled doctor without tons of practice, right? Erich Fromm says love is exactly the same. It requires theory, it requires practice, and it requires making it the center of your attention.
So, to really understand why learning this art is so incredibly important, we have to look at the core human problem that Erich Fromm saw. Why isn't love just some nice bonus in life? Why is it a deep existential necessity for every single one of us?
Erich Fromm's diagnosis here is just profound. He says that we humans are the only creatures on Earth who are fully aware of our own existence. And because of that, we are also painfully aware of our own separation. We know we are separate from nature, we know we're separate from each other, and we know deep down that we are mortal and ultimately alone. This awareness creates what he calls separation anxiety, an almost unbearable feeling of being isolated in the world. It's like we're each in our own little prison of solitude, and escaping that prison is the deepest, most powerful motivation in human life.
This comparison really puts it into perspective. The great novelist Leo Tolstoy, after searching for the meaning of life, concluded that human beings live by the love of God. And that's a beautiful spiritual point of view. But Erich Fromm's perspective is far more psychological, more grounded in our existence here on Earth. He argues that we live by the love of other people. For him, it's not a matter of divine will, it's a matter of psychological survival. Love is the only sane and satisfactory answer to the problem of human existence. It's the only thing that saves us from going mad from the sheer terror of our own isolation.
And when he says this, he's not being dramatic. This isn't just some romantic poetry. This is his clinical diagnosis as a psychoanalyst. Erich Fromm is saying that the drive to connect, to fuse our individual self with another person, is the most powerful force there is. It's the glue that holds families together, that builds communities, that creates civilization itself. Without that drive to overcome our separation, we would literally destroy ourselves.
Okay, so if we all have this desperate need to escape our loneliness, how do we usually try to do it? Well, as it turns out, we often reach for solutions that seem like they work in the moment, but they're really just temporary fixes that don't solve the core problem. Erich Fromm calls these our imperfect escapes.
He points to three really common but flawed strategies. First, what he calls orgiastic states. Now, this sounds dramatic, but it just means any intense experience where you kind of lose yourself for a moment, through alcohol, drugs, or even just the frenzy of a mob. For a brief time, the feeling of separation disappears. But what happens when it's over? The anxiety comes rushing back, often even stronger than before.
The second strategy is conformity. We try to escape our loneliness by just blending in. We adopt the same clothes, the same opinions, the same habits as the group, hoping that if we erase our differences, we won't feel so alone. But this isn't real union. It's a pseudo-union. And finally, there's creative work. An artist might feel completely at one with their painting or a carpenter with their wood, but this only solves the problem of being alone with things, not with other people.
So, if all of these common escapes are basically just dead ends, what is the complete, the healthy, the real solution to our separation anxiety? Well, this brings us right to the heart of Erich Fromm's teaching, the practice of what he calls mature love. And right here, this is the beautiful paradox of real love. Mature love is a fusion, a union, where, as Erich Fromm says, two beings become one, yet remain two. It is not about losing yourself in another person. It's not about one person dominating the other. It's an active, powerful force inside of you that allows you to break down those walls of isolation, while at the same time becoming more fully yourself, not less.
So how do we do it? How is this achieved? Erich Fromm breaks it down into 4 essential elements that must all exist together. First is care. This is the active concern for the life and growth of the person you love. He uses a great example. If someone tells you they love flowers, but they forget to water them, you wouldn't believe their love. Love is an action. It's about actively nurturing growth. Second is responsibility. Now, this doesn't mean it's a duty or a burden. It means the ability and the readiness to respond to the needs, both spoken and unspoken, of another person. It's a completely voluntary act. Third is respect. And this one is so crucial. It doesn't just mean being polite. It means the ability to see a person for who they truly are and to want them to grow and unfold for their own sake, not so they can serve you or fit into a box you've made for them. And finally, there's knowledge, because you can't truly respect someone you don't know. This is about a deep, driving desire to understand the other person from their very core. It's about seeing the world from their eyes. This knowledge comes from an infinite interest in who they are. These 4 things, care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge, they're not a checklist, they're a complete set.
This really deepens the whole idea of love being an active art. For Erich Fromm, love is primarily about giving, not about receiving. But he totally redefines what giving means. It's not about giving up something or sacrificing. It's about giving of what is most alive inside you, giving your joy, your interests, your understanding, your humor, your sadness. In the very act of giving your life to another, you enrich them and you actually experience your own vitality and aliveness even more intensely.
Now let's see how this incredible idea of love builds into a really powerful critique of our modern world. Erich Fromm expanded on these themes in another famous book, To Have or To Be, and the connection is just so clear.
He argued that our modern, consumer society trains us to live in what he calls the having mode. We want to possess things, acquire titles, and even possess people. When this applies to love, it means treating a partner like property, something to be controlled and managed. This kind of relationship is based on confinement and a constant fear of loss. The alternative is the being mode. This is love as active participation. Your partner isn't an object you own, but a living, breathing person you relate to. This kind of love is based on that active expression of care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge we just talked about. And it doesn't lead to confinement, it leads to mutual growth and freedom for both people.
So if love is truly an art, and we understand its essential elements, the final, and maybe the most important question is this: how do we actually practice it? What does it really take to become an artist of loving? Erich Fromm is incredibly practical here. He lays out 4 disciplines required to master any art, and they apply perfectly to love. First, discipline. This means you can't just practice love when you're in the mood. It has to be woven into your entire life. Second, concentration. In our world of endless distractions, this is a superpower. It means being fully present with another person, truly listening. But here's the twist. It also means being able to be alone with yourself. If you can't stand your own company, you'll just use other people to escape from yourself. Third, patience. You have to accept that there are no shortcuts. You wouldn't expect to become a concert pianist in a week, and the art of loving is a lifelong practice. And finally, supreme concern. Bottom line, you have to really want it. Mastering this art has to become one of the most important things in your life.
You know, what we've talked about today has really only scratched the surface of these powerful ideas. To truly grasp how Erich Fromm's thinking can transform your life and your relationships, you really have to go to the source itself. So, if you have not yet read The Art of Loving, your next action should be to immediately read this great book.
It's a journey that takes courage, effort, and dedication. But as Erich Fromm makes so beautifully clear, it is the most rewarding and meaningful journey a human being can possibly take. I will be back with another beneficial classic next time. See you again. Bye!